Ciao a tutti, sono Mila e bentornate sul mio canale in questa serie Learning Italian with Mila. Hello everyone, I'm Mila and welcome back to my channel in this series Learning Italian with Mila. In today's lesson, I want to make an overview of verbs in Italian because this is very important for you to understand if you want to learn very well Italian. So, let's make this very clear in our mind what is a verb. We know that verb is an action word. It is a very important part of speech. It is a word that describes what someone or something does, what they are, and what happens to them. For example, if I will say play, play is an action word, or speak, or disappear. This is an example of an action word that is a verb. Verbs are frequently used with a noun or somebody's name. Example, children likes story. Children is the name or the subject, and likes is the verb, the action word. Another example, Mila eats apple. Mila, that is me, eats is an action word that is a verb. In English, pronouns such as I, you, and she often comes in front of the verb. For example, I will say, she knows my sister. She knows my sister. She is the pronoun that is put in front of the verb that is knows. Verbs can also relate to the present, past, and future. And this is what we call the tense of the verb. The present tense, past tense, and future tense. Verbs also can be either regular or irregular. We call regular verbs if it follows the normal pattern of conjugating the verb, and irregular if it does not follow the normal pattern. And verb has its infinitive form that isn't present, past, and future. We called it infinitive. Example in English, if I will say walk, see, call, I will say you should walk, you can see. Walk and see, in this case, it isn't present, past, or future. It doesn't indicate their tenses. So we call the verb, in this case, infinitive verb. And in English, we know that infinitive verb is always shown with the word to. For example, to see, to walk, to run, to cry. All these verb, we call it infinitive. In Italian, infinitive verb is always composed of one word that can ends with either are, ere, and ire. This is the form of the infinitive verb in Italian. It will end either with are, ere, or ire. In Italian, infinitive verb is composed only of one word, but it has a different endings that can be either are, ere, and ire. Example of are is we have parlare. Parlare, that means to speak. Par is the stem of the word, and are is the ending of infinitive as infinitive verb. Credere, to believe. An example of verbs that ends with ere, credere. Cred is the stem of the word, and ere is the endings that means it is infinitive verb. And we have ire, for example. Credere is to believe. Okay, so we have also capire, example of the verb that ends with ire. Cap is the stem of the word, and ire is the infinitive verb. Ire is the ending that means this is an infinitive verb. Capire means to understand. In English, we have also these different kinds of endings example, S, we add S at the end, or ing, or ed. For example, for the S is we have walks, walking for the ing ending, and walked for the ed ending. What I want you to understand in this lesson is that in Italian, for the verb, infinitive verb, you will find these endings, the are, ire, ere, and ire. And if you take away this ending, what remains to the word is the stem of the word. Okay? Are, ere, and ire. Parlare, credere, capire. The endings of parlare is are. If you take away the are, it will remain only the stem of the word, that is par. For credere, if you take away the ere, the stem of the word remains only cred. Capire, to understand, if you will take away the ire, it will remain only cap. I am telling you this because Italian verb endings of the verb depends on who or what is doing the action. In English, you will put pronouns in front of the verb to show who is doing the action. Example, if I will say, she is playing tennis. So, she is the doer of the action, that is playing. Another example, I eat apple. So, I is the doer of the action. In English, you will put the pronoun in front of before the verb. While Italian, if I will say mangio, it means that it is only one word that in English it means I eat. So in Italian, you can recognize who is doing the action or the pronoun of the action only through its ending. That is, in this case, the ending of mangiare. Mangiare is belong to the word are. If you will take away the are and add o, it becomes I eat. Io mangio, or you can only say mangio. It is a little bit complicated now, but later on you will understand very well, okay? Nouns is used also as a subject of the verb as they are in English, but pronoun is used much less often in Italian. This is because the ending of the verb in Italian often show who is the subject, as what I told you in my latest example, mangio. If I will say mangio, it shows that the doer is, the pronoun is I. Example, if I will say, my sister eats apple. My sister eats apple. Mia sorella mangia la mela. If I will say, she eats apple. Mangia la mela. So in this case, she, you will not find anymore. In the word she, that is lei, you will not find it anymore because the ends of the word manja, the ends of the verb, it indicates already that the pronoun is she. Le, it should be lei mangia la mela. But it's already understandable, mangia la mela, that the pronoun is she. At this moment, don't worry about how to conjugate the verb. In my next lesson, we will make many practices about how to conjugate the present tense, the past tense, and the future tense. In this lesson, I am making only an overview of the verb. So you have already a little idea about verb in Italian. So the verb in Italian also changes the form according to the tenses. If it is present past, future. If I will say in verb believe, that is credere, to believe, credere. If I will say I believe, in Italian is credo. If I will say I believed in past tense, credevo, credevo, credevo. If I will say I will believe, crederò. So also in Italian, like in English, the verb changes its forms according to the tenses. If you remember that in English, there are also verbs that are irregular. For example, you don't add ed for the past tense of the verb to go, to see. For to go is when. It changed completely. To see, you don't add ed or d, but you see you change the see into so. I see. If you will make it in a past tense, you will say I saw. Also in Italian, there are verbs that they don't follow the regular pattern of conjugating the verb. Like for example, the verb to go, that is andare. To go is andare. Andare. If you want to say I go, io vado. Andare is completely gone. Or the verb to be, essere. Essere. You will say I am. You will say io sono. You will not say io esso. Io esso. Okay. And the other example of a regular verb is fare, that is to make or to do. Okay. So let's make a summary. Italian verb has a different endings depending on the subject and tenses. And this ending is added to the stem of the verb of the word. We'll make one example of the verb parlare, parlare. So I will say the endings depend on the subject. So remember, we will use this pronoun as a subject. Remember the pronoun io, tu, lei, lui or lei, noi, voi, and loro. If I will use the verb parlare, that is to speak, the endings of the parlare is are. We will take the word, the endings that is are, and the word that remain is what we call the stem, that is par. So now if I will say I speak, io parlo, so the ending is o. Tu parli, so the ending is e. Lui or lei parla, so the ending is a. Noi parliamo, so the ending that we put in the subject noi is iamo, parliamo. Then voi, you in plural, voi parlate, the ending that we put is ate. Then loro parlano, the endings that we put is ano. So this is what I said, that the endings of the verb depends on the subject. Depends on the subject. If we will take away the pronoun that is I, you, we will only say parlo, parli, parla, parliamo, parlate, parlano. We understand that if I will say parlo, it means I speak, even without the pronouns before the verb, because the endings already show us who is the subject. If I will say parli, means that you speak. Parla, it can be she or he speaks. Parliamo means the subject is we. Parlate means you speak, the subject is you in plural. Parlano means that they speak, the subject is they. And also for the past and the future, there is also another index. I am only making this an example, the present tense, but don't worry, we'll talk also about the past and the future. So in Italian, you don't often use the pronoun to indicate who is the subject. So for today's lesson, I am finished, and if you want to repeat this lesson, just watch over and over again this video. Okay? Ciao e arrivederci!